Right. Since this is about the Kurgan tactics, I thought I'd just show you right away that it deals with chaos. Put that down there. Okay, now I think Ben, and I guess that's the Ben that sent me the email, asked a really interesting question. Mostly interesting. Oh, I'm just made myself an espresso here, which I'm not a huge coffee drinker, unlike Vox, but now and then I feel the urge. And I've just spilled a whole bunch of it all over, because that's what Italian cafetiers do, make a mess. But yeah, so while I wait for, oh well, there's already 11 of you here. I'm impressed. No downvote yet, you know, the guy's a bit slow, but yeah. Anyway, so Ben sent me a really interesting email. And it was interesting to me particularly. Oh ho! The High Priestess has arrived. All bow to the High Priestess. No, they must show due reverence. And I'm going to have a corretto espresso. As you can see, my espresso is about half a cup of coffee and a judicious little tequila shot. Because we're talking about deep, important things, like tactics, specifically my tactics. So Ben's email, which was an awesome email, one of the better emails I've ever received in terms of people who've written my books and, you know, who like say, oh, thanks for this and that and the other. And not just because he was kissing my ass, because he wasn't, but because I think he had a pretty good grasp of the lengths I go to do my research. And that was actually his question, which was like, he's apparently read The Face on Mars, and he's reading Reclaiming the Catholic Church. And he said he was kind of shocked by the depth of research that I do, and what are my tactics for, you know, I've spoken about being a tactician more than a strategist. You know, what are my tactics for researching a subject, discovering really obscure information, and how do I know when I've got enough to write a book? And, you know, that was kind of the questions. I think he's here. I think that's Ben Evans there, so hopefully he's here. If he is, if I've misrepresented your email in any way, just, you know, let us know. Nice trill. Oh, we have gluttons for punishment. That's Bigfoot. Wait, I thought you knew about music. That's strange. And yeah, I might be sipping coffee. Hopefully I don't do it like Scott Adams, who's apparently very annoying. But I crunched ice last time, so I figured this is an improvement. Although you had the sax right at the beginning, so. Oh, Bigfoot bows to the High Priestess. Well done. Archie Bear. Very good. Yeah. Of course, I would assume any compliments. Oh, I think that's the wife arriving, so let me just lock the door before the children go in crazy. Babe, I'm just on video, okay? I'm on video. Right. Okay. And here we are. Yes, it might just become a bit loud out there because there's two kids, my wife, a friend. It's called The Thrill. Okay. Right, so about the writing and the tactics. I'm afraid to a certain extent it's going to be a little disappointing in that I don't start out necessarily with the idea of writing a book about Mars or Systema or the church. Certainly, if you'd told me 30 years ago that I would write a book about Mars, I could have said, yeah, I could see that happening. If you told me I'd write a book about martial arts, I'd have said, yeah, I can definitely see that happening. But if you told me I'd write a book about the Catholic Church, I'd be like, what? And even with The Face on Mars, originally I'd started writing a fiction book. And it's only as doing research for that book that I realized, whoa, I remember the exact moment when I figured out what happened on Mars. And I was like, wait a minute. And then I started researching for that book. As to my tactics on research, I can't really help you there and tell you exactly what I do, because it's a bit like, I realized this when I had friends ask me about, oh, well, how do you get to, get with a girl or find women or whatever. And I was like, well, just go up and talk to them. Somebody that knows how to do something quite well, it's often more difficult for them to try and explain it to you. I don't know exactly what other people find difficult about research. I know that I've got an ability that within 6 months of researching pretty much any topic that interests me, or that I've got an overwhelming need to understand for whatever reason, I will be world class. I have the ability to digest a huge amount of information quickly and sift what is objective fact-based and what is just nonsense or opinion or undefined or uncategorized. Now, uncategorized stuff can be very useful. I would say that probably the reason that I can do that is based much more in a topic that I do cover in Reclaiming the Catholic Church, which is being able to reason, being able to do proper logic, being able to understand that there is an objective reality and that your ability to discern that is important. This allows me to read a newspaper article and realize it's complete bullshit from beginning to end within the first couple of sentences, because the writer doesn't realize they've given away their whole crappy opinion and they've falsified their own crappy opinion by referencing either to facts that I am aware of and already know, or doing things that are just nonsense. For example, if they say, big newspaper headline, cancer has doubled in the Greenwich region of London. So what? Doubled from what? What were the numbers? What kind of cancers? It's not telling you nothing. There could have been 2 people that had cancer in Greenwich last year. Now you've got 4. Woo-wee, so what? You live in a city of 10 million people. So newspapers are almost always content free if you actually know how to read. But they are a propaganda machine. Everybody's used to reading them, so you just tend to believe whatever's in there. And that has conditioned people to a certain extent to believe whatever they find in the written form, which is unfortunate because a lot of stuff that's written down is complete bullshit. Okay, so Ben Evans is Ortho Kinsey. Very good. I think, Ben, are you the guy that's thinking about going Catholic instead of Orthodox? I'm just curious. Rakir says test and then another test. Apparently, one test is not enough. But yeah, so in terms of tactics of research, that's just how I process information. And if you want to learn how to do that quickly and efficiently, I strongly suggest you understand basic logic, basic maths, basic reasoning, really. And it is a skill, and you can improve it. But we're almost all generally born with a very good handle on that. It just gets beaten out of us. I mean, I see my kids, my stepdaughter, my son, my daughter. They absolutely hail Kurgan. I like the way you guys do that. It's just, yeah, good. They have a very logical mind, a very rational, logical mind. Little babies, little children have got a very logical brain. Um, oh, it is the Ben. The Ben that asked the question is in the chat, so I hopefully haven't misrepresented him, because he seems to be saying, yeah, compiling his thoughts and planning and research. But, the way I compile my thoughts is I just generally get interested in something. I mean, the face on Mars is essentially based on the planet Mars and stuff that's on Mars, artificial constructs that are on Mars that indicate it's artificial. I've always been very interested in astronomy from a very, very young age. So that was just a personal interest that I got into and got into more and more and more. I've always read science fiction and so on. And then it was just behind it. And then I started to research all of that. And, you know, when you have the ability to sift, because there is a lot of nonsense in the astronomy community. There's a lot of idiots, just like in any topic though. 95% of human beings are complete morons. And, you know, you've got the Egyptologists, you've got the astronomers that say nothing, you know, catastrophic ever happens, and, you know, it's all rubbish. But the thing is, if you are not swayed by false authority, in other words, people that present themselves as having authority, but they don't have any logic or reason, then they have no authority as far as I'm concerned. You know, I couldn't care less whether you are a policeman, a pope, or whatever. If what you're saying is nonsense, makes no sense, logically does not fit with the observable universe, you're wrong. End of. And I've always been like that since I was a kid. So I don't know if that's from the mild Asperger's or having a high IQ or a combination of both. But like hobbits, I believe it was J.R. Tolkien that said that hobbits are not impressed by anybody's status. Well, I'm no hobbit. I'm definitely a Westeros man. And in fact, my name in Elvish is Aratan, one of those, you know, there's my nerd side coming out. Because I really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings language and the fact that you could translate things into Elvish. So yeah, even in Elvish, my name is from one of the ancient lineages, which, as you who know and follow my my family line in real life, has got 800 years of history of kicking ass and not bothering with any names. So authority comes from truth. You know, if you're telling the truth, again, it's like the Russian martial art. Oh, who's got the authority? Who's been here the longest? No, who can kick your ass? That guy can kick your ass. Well, guess what? This is a class about kicking ass, and he can kick everybody's ass. He's got authority. It's that simple. And that applies, you know, in the abstract as well, not just in the physical. Somebody that can do math. I had a brilliant maths teacher in my engineering degree when I was studying. That guy could teach math to retarded lemurs. He could teach calculus to retarded lemurs. He was awesome, you know, and that is a skill that is equally visible, let's say, to somebody who can do logic as much as somebody kicking your ass. Now, somebody kicking your ass is obvious. You know when your ass has been kicked. You're bleeding, you're in pain, and you just wake up from lying on the floor because somebody smacked you in the head hard enough. Can't deny that. But again, if you're objective, you can't deny that somebody has got an ability at a particular skill. Another guy in that class, in my same engineering class, was a guy who could barely speak English. Tall black guy, and that I made the wrong assumption of assuming for about a minute that, well, this guy obviously got his maths wrong because he's got a different result from me, and I'm a fucking smart guy. And within about a minute, when he went through it, I realized I'm the idiot, and this guy knows how to do maths in a way that I will never be able to do, sort of thing. So processing information correctly is the way in which you can process a lot of information quickly, because again, I can pick up a book on pretty much any topic and scan through it, read through about 20, 30 pages, read the chapter headings, figure out, you know, what it is. Generally, I tend to read books from cover to cover. I don't, but if I'm doing research, I might be looking for a particular piece of information or whatever. And, you know, with the internet, it's both easier and harder. It's easier because you can get mountains of information on just about anything. It's harder because there's mountains of crap that you've got to sift through to get to the nuggets of truth. while before books and certain things had to have a certain vetting, so it was a little bit more difficult to get your book into the printed form. So older books tend to be, generally speaking, a little bit better. For example, The Meme by Simeon, whatever his surname is, the guy who Dick Dawkins plagiarized. He's written an astonishing book of science in 1905. Brilliant, still absolutely valid today. So, as for obscure information, if you consume enough information, and if you have the ability to see patterns, which, of all the skills that I have, I would say that my ability to recognize patterns, both consciously and unconsciously, is probably my top skill. And in particular, noticing patterns of what shall we call it? Patterns of what I would call it like deviancy, in the sense of something that deviates from the norm, or deviates from the truth, or is a weak point, or is a strong point. Anything that falls outside of the normal lines, I instantly pick up on that. I do think it's related to martial arts, fighting, having a tactical way of thinking, because it's absolutely important for your survival. The minutest detail of a weakness or a strength can be pivotal in a fight. And, so I think probably that's where it comes from. But translated to writing, what Ben noticed, which I was surprised by, and I never really thought about it because I do it instinctively, was that he says, you go to an extreme length to cover all the bases. And I do. And that is quite right in saying that's a tactician's way of doing things. A strategist would sort of canvass the general area and sort of be happy that, well, this carpet bombing will generally win people over. I'm more like, no, I want no survivors in this piece of patch. That's my land. And that's why my arguments against the Face on Mars, or for Systema, Systema is easier because, I'm getting a bit older now. So, some 28-year-old or 32-year-old guy who's been training hard all his life and is at the peak of his game, wants to test his whatever, Thai boxing against my Systema, I might come short. I don't know, maybe not, because maybe he wouldn't expect the things that I would do or whatever. But the point is, the physical has a limit eventually, but the intellectual, the logical, the reasonable, and the truth doesn't have any limits. So, I haven't had anybody be able to refute any of the non-fiction books that I've written in any meaningful way. I mean, people have attacked them, sure, but no one has given a refutation for any of the stuff that I've written down. And The Face on Mars I wrote 26 years ago, and it's still doing well, still doing strong. In fact, a lot of the things in it have since been proven. Stuff that I had extrapolated and saying, well, if X, then Y, is now known about. Oh, yes. Archiebear says, I've noticed the Kurgan can spot patterns of deceptive argument instantly. I have a very finely tuned bullshit detector, and it is only, it comes from two separate groups or areas or skills or whatever you want to call it, but they're complementary. One set is the instinctive, unconscious, being able to pick up of micro cues, which I didn't even know I was doing. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, this is bothering my OCD. My microphone is screwed up. Right. I didn't know that I was doing that until I became really adept at hypnosis and understood how that worked. And then I realized that I have an innate ability, I always had it since I was a kid, to automatically pick out something deceptive, or something is wrong, something is not lining up with truth, justice, beauty, equality, whatever. Not equality, I mean inequality, whatever. The weird thing is I noticed that my kids have it too. Both my daughter and my son have an ability to instantly pick up on wrongness. They might not necessarily know how it is. I mean, my son can't even speak yet, but he absolutely picks out, he knows when something is not right. And so that is I think, genetic, instinctive aspect of bullshit detection. But I have, over the years, also refined my logical processing ability, and it's very quick. It's much faster than my verbal acuity. And I'm pretty quick-witted in terms of argument. There's very few people that can keep up, but I assure you that my ability to pick up on these cues and process them and understand there's bullshit there is light years ahead of my ability to verbalize it. So I very often know when something's off, even if I don't know the specifics or the why. I know it even before the other guy's opened his mouth. And it becomes very difficult to try and pass that skill on to other people or explain it to them or whatever. It's almost impossible. They just assume that you're a judgmental asshole. I don't mind being considered a judgmental asshole. It keeps the stupid people away. Now, let me just quickly catch up because you guys have been talking here. Okay, just came from reading. Right, so that's compiling my thoughts is, what interests me. Planning research, I don't plan my research. That's why I'm saying it's a true war. There is no plan, because no plan survives contact with the enemy. I just research, and I keep researching. And as to your question, as when do I know I've researched enough, and when do I know I've reached a point? When there's nothing left. I basically keep going and keep researching and keep learning until there's nothing left, until I've scraped the bottom of the barrel. I've done that with Mars stuff. I've done that with the Sistema stuff. And I've done that with the Catholic Church. Now, I say that, although, I consider martial arts and certainly Christianity, Catholicism, to be essentially endless topics. You can always learn more. But in terms of the worldly aspect that you can transmit to other people, there is, in essence, a final limit that is, for most human beings, enough. It's enough to, for 99.9% of the human race, once you've given that much evidence and that much scope, they're like, okay, he's made his case. And the way I make my case is usually about 5, 6, 10 times more definitive than what most people who want to make a case about anything do, because I go right to the bottom of the barrel and I scrape right. I need to feel, I know that I'm ready to write a book about it, if I want to write a book about it, because there's whole topics I haven't bothered to write a book about it. I'm not necessarily any interest in writing about it, but I have researched to the same degree. Hypnosis is one of them. Part of the reason that I don't care about writing about hypnosis, there are several reasons. One is that people would misuse that. Milton Erickson was essentially right. 2, it's very hard to discuss. There are concepts in there that I am absolutely familiar with and comfortable with, but are very difficult to verbalize in a way that is transmittable to somebody who hasn't got a clue what you're talking about to begin with. It's the same difference like, if I really met some weird alien and I tried to describe it to you, but you've got no concept of aliens, I mean, how am I going to try and tell you about it? I'd have to try and make a parallel to it's kind of like an octopus mixed with a saber-toothed tiger, and that doesn't really tell you anything. And plus, you've got your own ideas about what that would mean. So there are topics that are just not worth trying to share with others much. The topics that do interest me, how do I know that I'm ready to write a book about it? There is no more new information. I have pretty much got all of it. There are always, little bits here and there, but in essence, but I don't plan the research. I just keep researching. It's kind of like, well, how do you know you've won the race when there's nobody else running? It's just you left, you passed the finish line, everybody else is dead. Okay, I won. That's how I know I got to the end. Kurgan has true authority. It's true, he and Vox have more authority to me than other people. Well, that's because, both Vox and I are pretty meticulous. We hate liars. And we absolutely tell you to test everything we tell you, you know. I notice Kurgan has patterns of deceptive argument instantly. Yeah, that's because I've actually described that in Reclaiming the Catholic Church. I've identified there's 11 patterns that deceivers use. It's not even a dozen, it's 11. And I identified, I give examples in the book, and I try and teach you how to spot them. Autarky. Now, Archibear and Autarky Bear, you guys got to get together and, you know, just change your names or something. Stop confusing me. Hello to everyone. I hope I caught this live. Archibear definitely, and then goes on. And Ben says, definitely. And then he goes after the perpetrator ruthlessly. Absolutely. Liars are evil. The evil they cause is massive. The one I just did a blog about on gfilotto.com, it's the blog that's up now. You know, Mickey the Lesser, who calls sedeprivationists and sedevacantists like Luciferians, and I just tear into him. Do go ahead and leave me comments. I have forgotten to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him an email to just show him the links. Yep, there you go. Respond to that. Because those people are liars. They're leading people to perdition. They're absolute liars. That they should not be listened to, and they have to be exposed. These are intentional liars, especially intentional liars. But, you know, at the end of the day, like you guys know, I'm absolutely not, no retard left behind. Leave all the retards behind. I don't really care if you're a liar intentionally or a liar because you're stupid. Get out of my damn way. And if you're a liar because you're stupid, just get out of my damn way and I'll leave you alone. If you're a liar because you're an intentional deceiver, I will come after you until you've been stomped into molecules. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind that you're a liar. And I've done that to people on Social Galactic, Ranger being the prime example. And then when I'm done with him, I banned him, you know, I blocked him, so I can't bother to see his crap. He's done, he's dusted. Anybody that knows, that wants to find out, can just go and check out my comments about him. And I've made a little blog post about him as well, just, you know, so that it's there forever. It's not going away. And Archibear said, I rather enjoy the ruthless and relentless persecution of liars and deceivers. There you go. You see, that's the thing that unites people like Vox, myself. You know, Vox is a filthy Protestant, and I am a good, holy Catholic. But nevertheless, we get along. Because not only do I consider him a friend, but we get along because we both have an absolute dislike for, you know, liars and injustice. That, you know, I told him that in 2014 when the first time we met up for Gamergate in Paris. And I told him that, I said, you know, all these labels that people use, there is just two factions. People who love the truth and people who don't. That's it. There's no other faction. Doesn't matter what your label is, doesn't matter. Either you love the truth and you're for the truth and objective reality, or you're not. And if you're not on that, you know, if you're not on my team, you are absolutely my enemy. You're not a neutral person, you're an enemy. And it's just a degree of dangerousness. How much bullets do I have to shoot your way to get rid of you? You know, is it just a couple of bullets and then you stay out the way, or do I have to use orbital bombardment? But you are absolutely an enemy, and be very clear about that, because that's what it is. That's the truth. That's the reality. The bullshit detector can be grown through experience. Absolutely. I mean, it took me decades to you know, my bullshit detector is almost flawless when it comes to other men and when it comes to most women. It fails desperately, or used to fail desperately, when it came to very pretty women that like to get physical with me. But even then, it's not that my bullshit detector didn't work. It's that I was suppressing it, going, no, 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 you know, there's claxons, red alarms, you know, get out, jump now. And my other head is saying, just chill out, dude, it's all fine. Just don't worry about the fire in the kitchen and, you know, the radioactive waste in the lounge. It's all cool. Just give her another shot. You know, and the one thing I will say in my defense, though, is I never took any bullshit. I never accepted the bullshit. I always called out the bullshit. But unfortunately, when it came to very pretty women, I often put up with it nevertheless. I said, you're a fucking liar, but I'm still there. And I should have been, you're a fucking liar, kicking the ass. Now, if they were ugly and dumb, or, you know, not that pretty and not that interesting, as soon as they lied once, they were out. But when they're really pretty and they kind of know what they're doing in bed, yeah, that was difficult. So that was my obviously weak spot, as one of the ilk said one day, you know, when we're arguing, we're saying something about, and he goes, no, man, you're a dangerous fucker. If I had to get rid of you, I would hire a slightly tanned, hot-looking slut who can slit your throat in bed after she's banged you senseless. That was a smart guy, you know. He would have probably got me at that time because I wasn't married yet. So, Kurgan, when we inquisition the Vatican, can we lead with Gregorian chants? Dude, you can lead with whatever you want. You know, I'm not particular as long as we get them out of there. Can you imagine the wreckage if SG wasn't a clean speech zone? Ben, that's another very perceptive thing. Most of the Dread ilk hate SG being a policed clean zone. I'm one of the very few people that says no. That is a very interesting social experiment. It's worth doing. And it absolutely forces a higher level of conversation. And, you know, I got an email from, right at the beginning, I got an email from Vox and cut it out because some guy was accusing me of being mentally disturbed and all sorts of shit. And he was, you know, teaching kids, and you could see he was a pedophile. And I just called him, well, you're an outright pedophile, so I don't care what you say. And Vox was like, look, you can't do that, you know, because you can't just accuse the guy random. And I'm like, dude, you know, he's fucking throwing accusations. He goes, look, I know you didn't start it, but, you know, I'm trying to do something here. And I was like, okay, cool. I get what you're trying to do. And, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to support your approach. And I have since, you know, I've never argued with any of the moderators. If they say, oh, no, that's not cool, or they've taken down a couple of my posts. The first one they took out is because I said something like Germans, they only do Nazi shit, and shit is, you know, not clean, so they took out the whole thing. I thought, oh, that's a bit extreme. But in retrospect, I understand why it's done, because it's a very clear line, and it has forced an interesting and better dialogue in general. You know, the Dreadilk also sort of complain about the bears being a bit too dumb and whatever, but the bears as a general group of people are very enthusiastic, friendly, and honest. As you know, they are a little bit naive, perhaps, certainly compared to the Dreadilk, who are all a cynical bunch of old bastards, but, you know, that's also life experience. SG must maintain clean speech despite my occasional disagreement with how sensitive the rules are. Yeah, clean speech is a good thing. Hear that, Archibald? We're leaving you behind. Ranger is obsessed with you. Well, I don't know. I've blocked him, so I can't see his post. But tell me more. Oh, High Priestess, I do enjoy your takes on things. See, Dilo over there is an outstanding, very unique woman, because she has the ability to also spot deception, and she's got I don't know how to say, she's got a very familiar take on things, yet, like, from a feminine perspective, it's very interesting. I always, I quite enjoy Dilo's insights. They're always useful. So yeah, tell me, has he been like ranting about me somewhere? It's interesting to know. That's Jordan James has just synthesized the thing. Says your high-level pattern recognition allows you to discern through information relating to a topic, so you find the right stuff a lot faster and don't waste time on irrelevant shit. Absolutely correct. That's basically what it is. Schmidt is also obsessed with Kurgan. Oh yes, I've blocked him too. And I'm sure they're furious about it because they can't see my post. And Schmidt is also a not clean speech idiot, and but the moderators let his crap stand for quite a long time until I mentioned it. I was like, hey, what's going on with this? You're taking down my post for saying shit and you leave this guy's stuff up? So they took that down eventually. But these are frustrated little gammas, and they are super Protestant. like Ranger is actually worse because he's an actual pretend Catholic deceiver who says, I'm going Orthodox because that's the true religion. And he's nothing of the sort. He's also Brazilian, so, you know, I will shit on him from a dizzy height. Schmidt is too retarded to bother with. He's just completely pointless, useless. I just blocked him and completely ignored him, which is what's going to drive him even more insane. Dancers with logos, you can't leave behind someone that lives rent-free in your head. Archie Bear and D-Lo and their little sparring. It's always funny. I guess I am too, since I'm tracking those who are obsessed with him. Come on, guys, tell me what's going on behind the scenes. I don't want to engage with them anymore because I've destroyed both of them already, but it's always interesting to me to know that I live rent-free in their head. I can't stand Schmidt. Yeah, I also can't. He's got nothing. He's rude, stupid, unimaginative. It's boring, you know. It's like a boring troll. At least be an interesting troll. Ranger is more intelligent, certainly, than Schmidt, but then, you know, so are certain primitive life forms in the ocean. Ranger is at least gives you a bit of a challenge through the deceptions and show them in a way that the average person can see. It's just time consuming for me. I mean, I see that shit and I'm doing it for other people. I'm not doing it for myself. Stone Ground Bear says, I trained my bullshit detector by listening to a few hundred hours of moderated debate. The more liars I saw and more I saw them called out, the clearer everything became. Debates are kind of pointless. The Greeks used to do what is called arguing or philosophy. Philosophia. Philo is my name, which by the way is love, friend. Philosophia means Sophia is story. So friend, story. So it's a story between friends. It's friends that are arguing, saying, oh, you know, I think this is green. No, I think it's yellow. And I have had debates like that with people who can argue. And that's not a debate, it's an argument. I present my axioms, I present my premises, I therefore present my hypotheses and conclude my theory. And then he does his, and then we choose, all right, we're going to deconstruct yours, then we're going to deconstruct mine, or vice versa. And two honest people can do that, and invariably both learn something, regardless of who's right and wrong. And regardless of who's right and wrong, it is an absolutely positive, empowering experience. So I strongly recommend it, but very few people can do it. It's a lost art, you know. It's like the Japanese tea ceremony done with origami on the side. Almost nobody knows how to do it anymore. Archibald, you're a regular on the Kurgan's live stream because I live rent-free in your head. Look, Archibald, I think it's time that we just, you know, just speaking to you now, Archibald. There's 34 witnesses here. It's time you stop fucking about, get yourself to a proper Catholic church, and get yourself Christian. You know you want to. You know, I know you're out there in the Ozarks and that you struggle, you know, with your attraction to other men's behinds, pigs, and all the other things that you have in the swamps out there. But you're just going to have to man up, confess all your sins, and become a proper Christian, which is Catholic. You know you want to. You know you want to have that crusader status, you know. You know that when you want to burn a heretic, you want to know you're doing it in the right way, with the right rites and all that. Just stop messing around, become a proper Catholic, all right? I know, your fiancé might not be on board or whatever. You're going to have to learn to lead, you know, instead of just snatching tourists out there in the boondocks of Deliverance Land where you live. You know, you're now trying to be with a woman. I know it's unusual for you, but you're just going to have to, you know, man up, confess all your sins, become a proper Catholic, and then you can crusade, you know, properly. Dances with logos. Obvious inversion is off. Oh, I hadn't even read this. Dances with Logos says, I'm just glad you're on your path to conversion. Soon you'll be a proper heterosexual. I quite like their sparring. OKC Guitar Bear, welcome. I hope you missed the intro because that would have been painful to your ears if you're a musician. Does the Holy See have to be in the Vatican? No. The Holy See was not in the Vatican for a number of years. It was in Avignon. So no. Are all merchant types liars on some level? Essentially, yes. I take the Miyamoto Musashi view of it. If you've read Gorin no Sho, A Book of Five Rings, if you do read that book, which I do strongly recommend, get the translation by Victor Harris. Do not get any other translation. There have been a lot of crappy, shitty translations of Gorin no Sho. The translation by Victor Harris is the only decent one. And Miyamoto Musashi says there are only four people: the artisan, who builds things; the merchant, who is his only motive is profit, and that tells you everything you need to know; the farmer, who works according to the seasons and so on; and what he calls the gentleman warrior, which is a samurai. And I generally agree. There are only those four classes of people in one way or another. And yes, I can't stand merchants, essentially. Kurgan, you know you're creating a monster with your praise of Dilo, albeit a tiny Mexican monster like the chupacabra. I think you'll find she's far more dangerous than any simple chupacabra. She's much more dangerous, chupadora. No, I'm not creating a monster. That lady deserves her praise. I mean, just her screen image of graphic of the Ave Maria and where it comes from in the Bible, that alone. Such a simple photograph, but so instructive. Ben, I don't know if you're still here, but have I answered your question in full? Let me just quickly pull up his email, because it was truly a really nice email. I don't want to... Oh, where is it? Oh, I might have to go look for it. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. So, computer is a bit slow. Where are Ben? Here it is. Oh, another cool thing about Ben is that he came to God in the same way that John C. Wright and I have. Another thing about John C. Wright, we recently exchanged some more emails where I tried to ask him about, my position, say, deprivationist against his, of Novus Orchian support. To my mind, he gave a rather unsatisfactory answer, but one that I accept, because he said, well, I give my word, I'm not going to go against the Catholic Church because I don't have the right to question it, and you have been convinced by arguments that you have the right to question it. And I replied back saying, I've not been convinced by any arguments that I have the right to question it. I am simply following the magisterium of the Church, as a Catholic you're supposed to do. And you seem to not be following that. So, and he said, well, I'm doing what I think is best and trying to follow, although I don't agree with it, and clearly you don't agree with mine, but I respect you and I consider you a good man, and, when we both die and are before our Lord, we'll find out who was closer to the truth. John C. Wright is unfortunately a Novus Ordo supporter, but, he's deceived, but he's a good man and a good guy. So, what is this chat about? My first time ever here and never heard of this channel before. It showed up in my feed. Well, James Pyle, basically we're crusading Catholics that do not recognize Bergoglio as any kind of Christian at all. He's a devil-worshipping, child-eating sicko. And if you want to know what this channel is really about, go on my videos and look at video number 1, which is slightly out of order, but they're all numbered. And it's 10 minutes, and that pretty much tells you what one of the main thrust is, but then we talk about whatever. Strategy, tactics, you name it, it'll come up at some point. What is the difference between knowing and faith in your understanding? They're the same thing. Faith is knowing. I wouldn't differentiate between them, quite frankly, in fact. I just read about your experiences as a security guard in Africa in the Sistema book. Really crazy. Well done. Yeah, I haven't put everything in there that I can't put everything in there that's happened in those circumstances. Just like my dad's book, you know, he's got the same name as me. If you look for Life and Death in Africa, it's a very funny and very interesting book. And all those things in there are absolutely true, I know, because I was there for most of them. But there's a bunch of stories that neither my father or I can put in a book while we're still alive anyway. So, yeah. And the earth is round. Indeed it is. Talking with my primary school friends about sedevacantism, we have already some questions. I directed it to local priests as it's about things around exorcism and validity of the Eucharist miracles in... I don't know, I can't see what the rest of that is, Pew and Bear. The earth is round. One thing Dancers with Logos and I can always agree on. Indeed. Earth is a round disc. No, it is not, James Piles. Now watch yourself, because any flat earther fucking idiot that gets on this channel and comes up with that is banned outright. So if you're a flat earther, be quiet or get the fuck out, or you will be kicked out. I cannot abide those morons. I've done videos on it, and that's it. I'm done. We're not discussing it. Novozorkian Church. We're staunch round earthers indeed. Yes, I will read it. The excerpt you read was great. Oh, yeah, it is a really funny book. My dad's book, honestly, is a brilliant book. And Freemasons suck ass. Literally, that's James Piles. You've redeemed yourself a little bit. Now just don't go off on a flat earth trip and you'll be fine. Freemasons literally suck ass. Oh, our downvoter. Hello, downvoter. How you doing? I see that your move has been completed, downvoter. And I'm still living rent-free in your head. Okay, guys. Well, I'm under an hour. That's amazing. If you got any questions, Pew and Bear, it looks like you might have a couple of questions about your local priest. If he's a Novus Orchian, keep in mind he's not a priest. He's a pedophile supporting imposter. Kurgan, thanks for responding to my email a couple of weeks ago about the Trinity symbolism. I'm a lazy bastard and never responded. Thank you. Also, on Lux Vera, what type of church am I looking for? Most of the ones on Lux Vera are actual Catholic churches, so, you know, just go to it. Stop being a lazy bastard. Read, believe. Read, Reclaiming the Catholic Church. Then you'll know what to look for. I know you said some are still not correct. I don't know. I don't remember saying that. All I'm saying is you got to check the church out for yourself. It's quite easy to know what to look for. Ask them, do you think Bergoglio is Pope? Do you think Ratzinger is Pope? And what do you think about Vatican II? Is it valid? And if they say yes to any of those questions, get the fuck out. Okay. Well, unless you guys have got some questions, I'm going to go. So shoot, if you got anything to ask now. I've got an opportunity to join the Dutch Special Forces. Your stories make me want to do it. Sylvester Rep. I don't know how to tell you this. You're probably a young guy, clearly. There are benefits to joining things like the Special Forces, but remember that you're going to be a pawn being used for other people's ends. Now, you could be a force for good in there. So, because, you know, Special Forces, military, those guys, they're going to be activated pretty soon. So you could be a good guy inside those branches, and you could end up doing a world of good. But you're going to have to possibly go against orders. You know, you still have to have a rational mind. Then I strongly suggest, if you're not already, that you become a proper Catholic before you do that, because that will guide you in knowing when to listen to orders and when to ignore them, and how to ignore them in a way that you survive it, if you need to. So, you know, being a part of the military was never for me. I studiously avoided it, although it was compulsory for me as an Italian back then. And I dodged that, and I dodged it ever since, although I've dealt with being in that sort of structure all my life by choice. But never under the orders of somebody. Oh, SSPV are not. SSPV and Lux Vera are still not okay. Yeah, SSPV, SSPX, those guys are not actual Catholics. They're what they call R&R, recognize and resist. So how can you recognize a persistent, notorious heretic as being Pope and then resist him? It makes no sense. It's absolutely nonsense. Fuck Freemasons and the Satanic Pope and Catholic Asinine Church. It's not Catholic, it's Novus Ordo. Now watch yourself. Special Forces, okay. James Powell, one more of your little all caps and Globetard pederasts. Okay. James Powell has to go because James Powell is indeed, as his name suggests, a furuncle on the anal passage of somebody. So we're just gonna ban him quickly. Hold on. While we get rid of him. Where are we? No, that's not the right place. There we go. Yeah, these morons. Honestly, it's like, what the fuck? Why do these people even come to this stream? Do you not know that you are not welcome here? Somebody, there we are. So we're just gonna ban him quickly. Hold on. Forget. Sorry, I had a. Where is he? Here he is. Let's just ban his ass. There you go. Done. And James Powell has now departed the room and all his messages have been deleted. Don't you just feel better about that now? Okay, here we are. Back to us. Okay. I think I might actually have met this fucking retard when I was in Indiana. He was a young flat earther. I told him, read this and this and get back to me. He never did. He ran away with his tail between his legs. Dolan Sanborn, yeah, indeed. Luigi, have you ever watched or heard about the anime Hunter x Hunter? Luigi, you better not be that moron who dodged having a live broadcast with me and then sends crappy, crazy emails of like 5 pages about some bullshit that doesn't even make sense in English. No, I have not. I've heard about it. I've not read anime Hunter x Hunter. This guy was raving about it, but then he is kind of insane. And if you really want me to read it, you know, there's an easy way to do it. Post me one, okay? I'll actually read it. Any tips on how to read faster? I often sit and read for an hour or so and only get through 20, 30 pages. I'm not a particularly fast reader. I can speed read. I've read most of The Phenomenon of Man by the arch-heretic Teilhard de Chardin in about 20 minutes. And all you gotta do is stick your finger or a pen or something under the line that you're about to read and just follow it with your eyes. Don't bother thinking, oh, did that go in? Just do it. Do it for a page and then try and stop and listen to yourself and go like, do I know what I just read? And you'll find out that you have actually got that information in you. So that's how you do it. But I don't particularly enjoy doing it. I'm not a fast reader. I'm not a particularly quick reader. Vox, I think, is on record as saying he reads like 1,200 words a minute. I probably read a third of that, if that. I'm a slower reader than my wife. But then again, I actually read what I'm reading and I get it. And I don't skip bits and it goes in first time. So, you know, don't worry too much about speed reading unless you have to or want to learn. And then literally that's quickest tip I can give you. Like take a pen, take the whatever it is that you want to read. There you go. You know, take like if you take this, right? And you see how it's like at the bottom of a line, and then you just use that as your marker point, and you just scroll it across, keeping your eyes just above the, you know, just so your eyesight, if we're looking at this, right, this line, your eyesight is where my finger is, your pen is just below the line, and you just scroll along like that, and you keep your eyes fixed on there. Because what I've noticed is that your eyesight actually jumps all over the place when you're reading. So if you force it to just stay just above your pen or your finger and you force it to do that, it actually goes in, even though it doesn't feel like it initially. Is most psychology bullshit? A lot of it is, yes. And if you actually want to understand anything about the human mind, really you need to understand how hypnosis works, and you need to understand neurology. The Meme, which is a brilliant book by a guy called Simeon, a German guy who wrote it in 1905, spelled M-N-E-M-E. A brilliant book that'll teach you more than most modern books about the mind. And read up on neurology, like how the brain works, how nervous system works, that sort of stuff. Very important. How neurons work, the links that neurons make, and how hypnosis affects that in real time physiologically. And then you can start to understand a little bit more about psychology once you do. You really sort of have to do hypnosis to understand it. But a lot of people who try to take up hypnosis are actually psychos themselves who want to control people, so be careful. Pew and Bear says, I mean local valid priests, closest one. There are supposedly Eucharistic miracles in one of the Orchian churches. Host dissolved in water, changed to heart muscle with ARBM male in agony. Yes, there have been miracles in Novus Orchian churches. That doesn't mean that they're not Novus Orchian churches. There have been 7 instances that I'm aware of actual host turning into human tissue, human heart muscle tissue, living human muscle heart tissues. So, and remember, those churches used to be Catholic. They're now defiled by the Novus Orchians, but also keep in mind that at least some Novus Orchian priests are just complete ignoramuses that have survived going through some fag seminary and yet probably still believing in Catholicism, but they've been trained wrong by people who know better. So, want to know his mind about it. Okay, I'm not sure. Ben Evans says, best anime ever made. Is it like a film or is it just a book? I guess I should read it. Great advice, thanks. I understand what you're saying. I'm on the road to becoming a proper Catholic, so I understand that during these times going against orders will be likely. Excellent. If that's what you're trying to get in there for, then you've got my blessing, dude. If you are trying to become a proper Catholic, I very strongly suggest you don't just read Believe, which is kind of like, Cliff's Notes, idiot's introduction to Catholicism, but read Reclaiming the Catholic Church. Get that book, read it cover to cover, and follow the links and stuff that I give there as evidence to satisfy yourself that is the truth. Private Pile, do a barrel roll. Apparently Germany disbanded the KSK Special Forces for allegedly being too right-wing. Special Forces to a certain extent is like martial arts. Either you're thoroughly evil and you know you're doing evil, or you're not. But the thing is, you can't deny a punch in the face. You can try, but it hurts. And so, people that deal in Special Forces are honestly quite... generally they're pretty based. It's hard to not be based when you're getting punched in the face regularly and you know that if you don't do the right thing, you're gonna get punched in the face again. Dances with Logos points out a spectacular obvious gamma tell, which is it's always a dishonest gamma move to be like, I just got here, or I'm new here, what's this about? Quite true. But, another thing that perhaps some of you have noticed is that I tend to give these gammas, and I give them a lot of rope. I let them hang themselves, like Padre Gio, remember? That fake Catholic on Social Galactic, which I've completely demolished. I'm just trying to understand your position, Kurgan, so that we can argue in a friendly manner. Oh yeah, sure, you go right ahead. And little do they know that when they think, ha, I can stab you in the heart now that I'm close. No, fool. Now, you're locked in here with me. That's how it works. Now there's only 32 in the chat, James Powell. Is that better for you? Ah, but there's 33 up fingers. Giant piles of shit. Well, it's a pile, you know. Your names tell you a lot of things about stuff. It's very interesting that. I've seen that since I was a little kid. I had instant dislikes to certain names, which my father told me, what the hell, dude? You can't just get angry at a person's name. And I'm like, no, Dad, I can't. And you know, I haven't really changed my mind about that. I will make the odd exception here and there, but generally speaking, you know, your name tells you something about yourself. Tom Mastroianni, who is well on his way to becoming a crusading, zealous, proper bigoted Catholic, as I love. In my zeal to get my family to Mass at the beginning of the shutdown and my coming to Sedevacantism, I brought my family to SSPV Chapel. It set my wife back months, if not years, from going Sede. Yeah, if you want to understand about the SSPV, look at a series of videos on YouTube from Father Cicada, who recently passed away. A few days ago, he passed away. God bless that man. And I said a prayer for him, and he was in the company of proper priests when he passed. So he did a great work, but it's a brilliant set of videos. It's about 16 videos. They're all about 10-15 minutes long, where he's arguing with a guy called and he calls him Father Jenkins. I wouldn't give him that distinction. He's dealing with a weasel-worded scumbag. So look for Cicada-Jenkins debate or argument, something like that on YouTube. Watch those videos. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Also look for Father Cicada articles, which are still on the internet. A proper sedevacantist who changed his mind from reading and figuring out things and discovering why the thuck line of bishops is absolutely valid, and he didn't used to think so. You know, proper following of canon law. What I learned by looking at that at those videos of Father Cicada is one thing, which is this book. Even priests don't read it. Even priests don't read it. And you don't have to be a genius to read this thing. You know, it's a Roman law. So it's based on principles, not on case law. There's no such thing as case law in Roman law. It's principles, and the principles are clear and simple. So I strongly suggest, if you want to see why the SSPV is rubbish, read Father Cicada's article. Dilo actually is the one that sent me. If you're on Social Galactic, I think Dilo can post again the link to. She sent me a link to an article by Father Cicada, which in that article there's then the links to the Jenkins Cicada debate, and it's really brilliant. And once again, Dilo is there's a reason she's the high priestess of the Kurgan personality cult. It's not just haphazard, boys, or due to her good looks. You know, she knows what she's doing. Did you get round to watching The Man from Earth? No, dude, I have not. Thanks for reminding me, though. It's one of those things I plan to do, but you know, if you guys just buy pallet loads of my books, buy the pallet load, distribute it to all your friends and become zealots, you know, like the Watchtower guys that go to people's houses Saturday morning at 7 a.m. go, you should read this book. You guys can all do that, then I can stop doing other work and just focus on this stuff, and then I'll have all the time to do those kind of things. That method of speed reading works, helps enter flow state, then you really start absorbing the words. Yeah, you might have to practice a couple of times, but it does work. I'm reading a lot on persuasion and social communication. Do you have any suggestions, books, or advice regarding persuasion? Well, the Kurgan method of persuasion uses the front hand for the first argument and the back hand for the following argument, and repeat as necessary. I am not into weasel words. My method of persuasion is less important to me than the ability to not be surrounded by morons that disturb my thought patterns and days. So I will argue with somebody in a way that absolutely gets them to either submit, admit their folly and errors, or leave me the fuck alone. I have no interest in polite conversation with idiots. I have no interest in forgiving idiocy. I have no interest in being surrounded by idiocy. So I'm probably not the best person to persuade people. That said, those people who can handle my dulcet tones of education invariably tend to become very loyal, often good friends, certainly people that are able to follow my lead, even though I don't have any particular wish to lead. Sometimes these things are thrust upon you. Did you take supplements when you trained Systema? No, I've never taken any supplement of any kind. For a very brief period, maybe about a week, I took creatine. That was with my first wife when I was training really hard and I was going for my second Dan and I was teaching karate as well. And it was odd hours because I was like, teaching early in the morning, then late at night the next day. So it was like my sleep pattern which was already shit to begin with, always has been, because I'm kind of an insomniac. It's hard to stop my brain. It was even worse. And I was taking a bit of strain. I wasn't touching a drop of alcohol. I was only eating very proper food. And she was a triathlete, and she said, "Why don't you take creatine? It really helps to like fix up injuries and stuff quickly." And I thought, what a load of shit. But I took creatine for about a week. It absolutely worked. Keep in mind I was in my 30s then already, but absolutely beneficial. But I actually stopped taking it because I felt a little bit like it was cheating, and I didn't want to do that for my second Dan karate belt or exam or whatever. And I also absolutely believe in training very hard when you're completely fucked, when you're tired, when you're injured, when you haven't slept, why? And it's not for everybody. Remember, I'm not a doctor and this isn't the internet, right? But because I believe that you should be able to train as hard as you can in the worst conditions, and then that makes your neural system really get it ingrained. It becomes second nature, third nature, first nature. It becomes instinctive because it doesn't matter that you got a broken arm. It doesn't matter that you got a broken foot. It doesn't matter that you haven't slept for 3 days. It doesn't matter that you just had a fight with your wife and your mistress. It doesn't matter that go train. Then that makes you good. Sorry, was it Meme that you recommended to read and understand psychology? And this is the author's name. No, Meme. So the way you've spelled it, Bigfoot, is M-N-E-M. M for mummy. The second letter is an M. The author is Simeon, like Simon, but with an E before the O of Simon. Simeon, German guy, originally published in 1905, translated into English, I think, in 1915. I don't know if it's available right now here. It might be somewhere else. So it's a very good book. The lecturer that was looking after Dick Dawkins' thesis absolutely was familiar with this work. And Dick Dawkins, I believe, plagiarized a lot of it when he wrote his book, The Selfish Gene, or whatever, the meme, or whatever he called it. I think he used even the same name, because atheists don't have imagination, really. Thank you for the reading tip. Do you think there's any place for counseling or psychotherapy that can't be worked through with a proper priest? A proper priest can certainly set you right about a lot of stuff. There are certain mental disorders like actual schizophrenia, which often is the result of abuse, trauma, or drug use. And if you've got brain damage from drug use, you're probably too far gone to really help with much anyways. True conversion is very helpful. There are certain chemical imbalances that can affect your brain and so on, but for the most part, a priest that cares, and that is an actual Catholic priest, not a Novus Orchian, to my mind, those guys will give you far better advice than almost any psychologist I've ever gone to or met or discussed things with. And you've got to keep in mind that I trained as a hypnotist for a long time, so I met a bunch of these people. Psychologists generally are somewhat unbalanced people. I did train with or trained with at least one lady, hypnotist, that was very good. We trained together, and she is very honest, simple, straightforward, nice lady. And I used to refer people to her if I thought they would be uncomfortable with me, because I've got a certain approach. She's got a very different approach. And then I met a very good psychologist and hypnotist, another lady that, well, I won't say too much about her because she's well, whatever. It was, you know, she's a nice lady anyway, really good. And I do recommend people to her if they need to go somewhere. But that's about it, really. Most of the others that I've met are complete freaks, and some of them are actually really negative people that you would do well to stay away from. Okay. Yes, they put them on hold, Michael Becker. Okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about there. Runner Bean says, thank you for the reading, Tim, blah, 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 blah. Okay, where are we? There's a guy called Michael Pecker, which I've spoken to before, but I don't see him on the stream here, so I'm not sure if he. I don't think I banned him, but I don't know. Or maybe I did. I can't remember. Gammas are deceitful. Which names don't you like? Oh, well, it's situational, but mostly surnames. I mean, I remember a guy who crashed his bike into my girlfriend's car, and then tried to say that, you know, it was the fault of I was driving, it was like my fault, whatever. It was absolutely on a solid line, or he was completely at fault. And he was of Italian origin, and his surname was Traverso. Traverso means crooked. You know, I just found it funny. So, you know, Pile, James Pile. He's like a painful thing on your ass. That's his name, you know. I also find that a lot of people called John tend to be pains in the ass or idiots, or, you know, I don't know why, but a lot of Johns. You know, maybe there's a reason that prostitutes call them Johns. Who knows? What a great piety towards Eucharist might lead to the truth. Yeah, indeed. Well, you have to be respectful after all. Jesus Christ came here and died for saving all of us. And what, you're just gonna waltz into the church, sit down, scratch your ass, and pick your nose while you kind of half listening to a fake mass? No, that's not the proper approach. Who do you think is more cunning? Rhetoricity on the fly, Milo, or BB? I don't know who's BB. Oh, who do you think is more cunning? Rhetoricity on the fly, Milo or Big Bear? No, Milo outdoes Owen by light years. Milo could run circles around Big Bear. Big Bear is sort of a situational rhetorician, and sometimes he gets it totally wrong. Ben Evans, YouTube screwed up on me, and I've been watching the screensaver and reading the chat, not realizing the Kurgan was already going. I'm so behind. That's all right. You know, we wiser people don't know all this technological stuff. Post a link. Okay, Dilo's posting a link for you guys. Do you have a minute to talk about our battle commander, Kurgan? Yeah, who's our battle commander? Go ahead. Father Cicada has great sense of humor as an addition to proper distilled Catholicism. Yes, but the other thing I noticed about Father Cicada in that argument with Jenkins is that he can't stand the bullshit. He's just like barely staying inside his skin. and he is just direct to the point and just shooting down with logic and facts. And the other guy just weasel words his way. But it's very interesting. You should watch it, because Jenkins is a very accomplished weaseler. He's a very accomplished weaseler. And if you were to just listen to his weasel words, and you almost like brainwashes into accepting, it's like, oh, well, that sort of makes sense, until Father Cicada comes back and goes, gang, 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 and one more, bang. And you're like, oh, shit, nope, that just killed his argument dead, 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 and dead. That's very interesting to notice your own level of bullshit spotting. Jenkins Cicada on YouTube. Just look at that argument. It's really good. It's really good for you to train yourself to spot the weaseling and understand why the weaseling. Because you might have a sense that it's weasel words, but you need to understand exact details of what that guy is doing in order to shoot him down dead on the spot. It's a very, very useful skill to have in life. So I talk about it in the Reclaiming the Catholic Church quite a lot. It's one of the biggest chapters in there, and a big section of the chapter is about this. So it's a very important skill to have. Archibald, you said she's good looking. For God's sake, don't tell her how white she is, or she'll be utterly insufferable. Well, what you don't know, Archibald, is that Dilo comes from the high Aztec or Peruvian Mayan slash, the guys who killed a bunch of people just to the sun god. But there were different breeds of them. And she's obviously from the higher echelons, which had mixed with the gods, white people that had spaceships. And, so she is of princess slash queen type material, which is why she is the high priestess of the Kurgan cult. So it's not about becoming insufferable. It's just a fact. Archibald, as a catechumen to the Catholic Church, you have to understand hierarchy, and you just have to understand that the high priestess of the Kurgan cult is up there, and you, as almost Catholic, are just at the bottom. You have to scrape the bottom, kiss her feet, and walk your way slowly into the church. There's a hierarchy, and you just need to respect the hierarchy. Good Catholics understand that. All right. Thanks for the link. I'll check it out. Ciao, Dilo. Okay. Just heard your question, Kurgan. Yes, I am the one who's deciding between Orthodox and Catholic, or was. I've decided Catholic now. Excellent, excellent. One more has turned to becoming a proper hateful Catholic that hates with hatey hate the scummy rubbish that is going around the planet. I tried to do a promotion for the book Believe, and Amazon wouldn't let me do it because apparently my advert was full of hate. So, sorry guys, you're going to have to pay the full $9.99 that it costs. Vesper Kurgan, currently reading your new book. It's really helping me a lot and quite entertaining considering the dry nature of the topic. Thank you very much for writing. You're most welcome. I hate writing dry stuff myself, so I tried to make it as interesting as I could. There's actually a really long section on every single one of the Vatican II documents and the heresy in those documents, which I thought was insufferably painful certainly was painful to write. But my editor apparently told me that she really enjoyed it and was like, I just can't wait what you're going to come up with next. Pardon me while I drink. Michael Pegger, I'm hurt that you'd think to ban. No, I didn't think to ban you, Michael. It's just that there was another idiot that I banned a while back. And as you guys know, geniuses all have a weak spot. Mine is names. I've never been good at remembering names. Never forget a face, but names, sometimes I just, Yes, John, kind of agree, but maybe not all. Yeah, maybe not all. There's always the exception that proves the rule. For example, that really good hypnotist lady, the first one I mentioned that I trained with, she's Polish. And you all know how I feel about the Polish. So there's always the exception. Any thoughts on how a beginner should train with firearms? Well, try to not shoot yourself in the dick. Use an empty gun. Dry fire a lot. Understand how to draw and fire. I mean, it depends what you're talking about. You're training to shoot with firearms for what? Target practice? Combat shooting? getting attacked in your home kind of training, you know, you gotta take it step by step like anything. I learned just by going to the range and shooting targets. Shooting isn't hard to learn. Yeah, shooting isn't hard to learn. Shooting under pressure, very different thing. There was a little documentary done by some American guy about how the Russian special forces train their operatives to shoot with live ammo, and they've got one guy that has to shoot targets, and there's another guy in a face with a balaclava on, who's pushing him, shouting, and shooting right next to his ear with live ammo, and like shouting at him, pushing him, shoving him. They both have got live guns in their hands. You know, that kind of training. Don't you do it, because you're probably going to shoot your friend, shoot yourself. It's a whole different ball game, you know, thinking shooting a target or shooting at somebody that's shooting back with the other people, the crowd, you know, that stuff is, you can't just learn that by going to the range. But for anyone else who just got here or who's new and wondering what this is all about, some tenets of Kurganism. Catholic, not Novus Ordo, get Catholic or get the fuck out, all retards left behind. That's pretty good summary, I gotta say. Archie says, I don't believe a petite 5'4" woman can contain the massive ego you'll have after all this Kurgan praise. But you're not considering the hyperdimensional nature of higher beings that are higher up on the hierarchy. Archie Bear. Look, dude, you know, you'll eventually be able to deal with a lot more stuff and have more praise once you get properly baptized and become a Catholic. All right, guys, it's been an hour and 22. You've had the sax intro, which got rid of anybody that was too weak to handle it. You like that Polish lady because she's a nice lady, so there is no exception. By the way, I am Polish. Oh, I haven't met any Polish men I like yet. No, like I said, you know, there's always the exception, but yeah, you know, ultimately it's about the individual. I you know, being very much a tactician, I do deal with the individual a lot more than people like Vox. And on a personal level, Vox deals with the individual too, by the way. He's just a strategist, so he thinks even more bigger picture than I think. So, Dzień dobry, Pełen Bear. Oh, I thought it was Dobry dzień. Chopin only. I don't know. Baron von Blair is obviously on some other stream where he's getting some kind of other information that we don't know about. Okay, guys, I'll give you 1 or 2 more minutes if you've got any specific questions about anything, any of the stuff in the book, canon law, whatever. Shoot, you got 30 seconds or so to fire over your questions. Are you Czech? Dobry den. Dobry den is like Russian, isn't it? Like good day. Okay. I think that's about it. Oh, Chopin was Polish. Oh, I didn't know that. Was Chopin Polish? I actually like Chopin. I used to write to Chopin. I don't have enough of my music stuff. Plus, I got kids now, which they think anything fragile is obviously there to be destroyed. So and I've been here like a year and a half. I haven't even set up my my vinyl record player is just still not set up. So, but I used to definitely listen to Chopin. Yeah, that was very relaxing when I was writing. Michael Pecker, no, I'm Ukrainian Polish, but there are dialects that vary indeed. Well, you see. Okay, well, okay, guys, it's been fun. Thank you again, Ben, for that very interesting question, which made me reflect a little bit introspectively, which was good, was useful for me as well. So hopefully it wasn't too boring, and you guys was interesting for you guys too. I'm gonna say good night now, unless there's any more questions. Shoot them now, or hold your peace until the next live stream. I took an online class from Vladimir Vasiliev. His eyes resonate such happiness. Yeah, I've trained with Vladimir. He's outstanding individual. Yeah, his ability in Systema is, that guy can do stuff that sounds like absolute science fiction. So, yeah. Thanks for the chat. You're welcome, DPM. And, well, thank you all for being here and listening. And let's not forget our one downvoter was there too. He still won't learn, but I'm glad that he's always around. Thank you, Bigfoot. Thank you, everybody. And of course, all pay homage to Dilo, the high priestess of the Kurgan cult, just because I know it upsets Arky Bear when I praise her. All right, guys, have a good night, and thank you again.